Good day, everyone. I am LYKAVEL, and today we'll be discussing the second approach of stylistic, which is called literary stylistics. Last session, the reporters tackled about linguistic stylistics, which delves on how language choices, both in written and spoken, shape reader perception and interpretation. Today, we will explore on literary stylistics. Literary stylistics delves on how style in literature functions, its origins, significance, trends, and methods of analysis. Our goal is to show how stylistics help us appreciate literature not only for what it communicates, but also for how it is crafted. The insights of this report is grounded from the study of Mankush and Awadaf 2021 and other major scholars. Now, as you can observe in the next slide, I'll be discussing or I'll be introducing to you what is literary stylistics. Literary stylistics, as you can observe, focuses on literature. It studies how poets, novelists, and playwrights make artistic choices, how diction, rhythm, imagery, and symbolism turn ordinary language into art. For instance, in a simple words, we can just say, the sunset. It is plain and ordinary. But if we use literary stylistics, it can be, the dying sun spilled blood across the horizon. As you can observe, it is more poetic and powerful, where your readers can really feel the essence of the text. Literary stylistics always ask questions such as, what makes a poem sound musical? What does a novel feel dramatic or emotional? How does a playwright use repetition, silence, or wordplay to create tension? In short, literary stylistics doesn't only look in what a text says, but it also looks at how it says it. Literary stylistics act as a bridge between linguistic stylistics, which is the science of language, and literary criticism, which is the analysis of literature. In this slide, we'll be comparing linguistic stylistic and literary stylistics. We all know that linguistics, stylistics, and literary stylistics are both similar because they both study style and language. But they differ in many different areas, such as in focus and purpose. Linguistic stylistic scope are all forms of language, such as advertisement, speeches, conversations, instruction, while literary stylistic scopes focuses more on literary texts, such as poetry, novels, and play. The purpose of these two is also different. Linguistic stylistics' purpose is to describe and analyze structure, such as grammar, vocabulary, and discourse, while literary stylistics explains the artistry, the beauty, the emotions, and the literary effects. They focus in more different areas, such as in linguistic stylistics focuses more on communication and clarity, while literary stylistics focuses more on the special qualities that make literature unique. According to Mankush and Awadaf 2021, linguistics stylistics often misses the artistry of language, while literary stylistics emphasizes the unique qualities that make literature stand out. In conclusion, both linguistic stylistics and literary stylistics study in style and language. The difference lies between in focus. One studies in all language use, while the other studies in literary text. Literary text is important because it helps us appreciate how language becomes art, how words move us, create imagery, and give the life literature. This is my last part. As you can observe in the slide, it is all about literary stylistics. This one is the anchor of our report. It is all about literary stylistics. My goal reporters will explain this one, the levels of literary stylistics, which are graphological, phonological, syntactical, lexicological, and semantic. And also, they will explain the trends of literary stylistics, which are rhetorical and aesthetic, expressive and emotional, cognitive and reader response, individual and psychology, literary and critical. Also, they will explain the elements or devices of literary stylistics, which are internal linguistics, external linguistic, aesthetic literary, personality or individuality, language choices, and style of deviation. So that's all for my part, and I will give the virtual floor to the next reporter. Thank you for listening. This is my last part. As you can observe in the slide, it is all about literary stylistics. This one is the anchor of our report. It is all about literary stylistics. My co-reporters will explain this one, the levels of literary stylistics, which are graphological, phonological, syntactical, lexicological, and semantic. And also, they will explain the trends of literary stylistics, which are rhetorical and aesthetic, expressive and emotional, cognitive and reader response, individual and psychology, literary and critical. Also, they will explain the elements or devices of literary stylistics, which are internal linguistics, external linguistic, aesthetic literary, personality or individuality, language choices, and style of deviation. So that's all for my part, and I will give the virtual floor to the next reporter. Thank you for listening. They will explain the elements or devices of literary stylistics, which are internal linguistics, external linguistic, aesthetic literary, personality or individuality, language choices, and style of deviation. So that's all for my part, and I will give the virtual floor to the next reporter. Thank you for listening.
So good day everyone, I am AIRA DIZON, and I am going to discuss the historical background 1, the classical roots. So when we talk about the classical roots, we are going back, or we are going to delve deeper to the ancient Greece and Rome. It is where the study of language and communication really began. So back then, they called it rhetoric. So when we say rhetoric, it means the art of speaking or writing in a way that convinces and moves people. So one of the famous thinkers before was Aristotle. So Aristotle believed that the style is not just decoration, but a way to persuade. So for him, the way we use words, our tone, and even how we organize our thoughts could affect how people respond. For example, if I just say study hard, it might sound boring, no? But if I say when we study hard, we open doors to our future. So the message feels more inspiring, no? Unlike if we just say study hard, it sounds boring. So that's the Aristotle's idea of persuasion through style. So then came the Romans like Cicero and Quintilian. They added more focus on beauty and language. So Cicero loved using figures of speech and smooth delivery so that the audience would not only understand but also enjoy listening. So Quintilian, on the other hand, he believed that good style can be learned and practiced, and that a good speaker must also be a good person. So in the beginning, the main idea of this is language is powerful, no? So it is not just what we say, but how we say it. So it can inspire, convince, and it moves audience. So Um, that is the classical foundation that still influences how we speak and write today. So that concludes for my part. Thank you so much for listening.
Hello everyone, good day. I am IANNA and I'll discuss literary stylistics, concepts, approaches, and applications focusing on its modern developments. In the 19th to 20th century, there was a major shift in the study of language and literature, and this was the rise of modern linguistics. One key figure of this is Ferdinand de Saussure, who viewed language as a system of science. His structuralist approach changed how scholars look at words, not just as vocabulary, but as interconnected elements of meaning. His student Charles Bailey made an important step in 1909 when he proposed that stylistics should be studied separately from general linguistics, because for him, the way style works in language deserves its own focus. After Bailey, several scholars expanded the field, like Roman Jakobson in 1960. He introduced language functions, including the poetic function, which is the central part to the literature. We have also Roger Fowler. In the 1970s, linked style with society and ideology, showing that the way we use language is tied to culture and power. We have also Raymond Champman. He emphasized the stylistics variation and its role in teaching. And also we have Henry George or H.G. Widdowson in 1975. He highlighted the use of stylistics in language teaching, making it a bridge between linguistics and literary studies. By the 1990s, Michael Tulin developed narrative stylistics, studying how style shapes stories and affects readers. So, modern stylistics evolved from a purely linguistics perspective into a broader field that connects language, literature, teaching, and even ideology.
Good day everyone, I am Irish Jane A. ENORIO and today I will be continuing our discussion on the importance of literary stylistics and why it truly matters in appreciating and analyzing literary works. So why is this important? These stylistic choices shape how we feel and what we understand. For example, when you read a poem or a beautiful line in a play, it's not just the message that moves you, right? It's how it's expressed. So literary stylistics helps us uncover those deeper layers, the emotional and aesthetic effects that might be missed if we only focus on the basic meaning. For example, in Shakespeare's Hamlet, the phrase "something is rotten in the state of Denmark" uses metaphor to evoke moral decay and tension, deepening our emotional response. So by analyzing these stylistic choices, we gain insight into how literature moves us beyond literal meaning, highlighting its artistic and emotional power. Ultimately, literary stylistics reveals the artistry behind the words that bring stories to life. So as Bresler reminds us, it's not just about understanding the words, it's about experiencing their emotional and aesthetic power. Well, I guess that wraps up my report, and now I am passing the virtual floor to the next reporter. Thank you all for your attention and have a wonderful day.
Hey everyone, I am Christine Jorbilin and now I will be discussing the trends of literary stylistics. So stylistics is the study of style and language, especially in literature. It focuses on how words are used, it create meaning, beauty, and emotions. So here there are 5 trends in literary stylistics. But for now, I will only explain the first 2 trends, which are the rhetorical and aesthetic stylistics and expressive or emotional stylistics. So the other trends will be discussed later by Mr. Espiritu. So first, rhetorical and aesthetic stylistics, rooted in classical rhetoric, where language is used to persuade and beauty. So a Roman orator like Cicero, a great public speaker in Roman, used strong words to convince people. For example, he might say, the safety of the republic depends on your courage and duty. So this makes people feel responsible and motivated. So later during the Renaissance, scholars also studied in beauty of words in poems and stories. So for example, describing a sunset as the sky melted into the golden waves. So this creates a beautiful pictures in the reader's mind. So the second is expressive and emotional stylistics. So here is developed by Charles Bailey, who argued that style and reflections of emotions and personal expressions. So it focuses on how language shows emotions and feelings. For example, instead of simply saying, I am sad, but a writer might say, my heart feels heavy like a stone. So this expresses deeper emotions and helps readers feel what writers feel. So in summary, rhetorical and aesthetic stylistics is about persuasion and beauty, while expressive and emotional stylistics is about emotions and personal expressions. Together, these trends shows that stylistics looks at both a form of language and feeling it conveys. So that ends my report. Thank you for listening, everyone.
So good day everyone, I'm CARLO din ESPIRITU and this is my part of this presentation. Now I will be discussing about individual and psychological stylistic and cognitive and readers response stylistic and literary and critical stylistic. So first is individual and psychological stylistic. So this focus on author unique style of writing their personal voice and how their choice of words and image affect the reader's emotion and thoughts. So for example of this in William Wordsworth line, I wandered lonely as a cloud. So his simple nature imagery show his individual style, while the image of a loneliness touching freedom makes the readers feel calm yet reflective, showing the psychological effect. So that is the individual and psychological stylistic. So next is the cognitive and reader response stylistic. So this approach focus on how readers personally connect with the text. So the line may make readers imagine drifting through life. Some may feel peace in, while others may sense sadness and isolation. So for example of cognitive and reader's response stylistic, so a reader who has expressed loneliness might relate deeply to the lonely as a cloud or lonely cloud. So imagining themselves moving quietly and notice, just like the poet of the lonely as a cloud. So that is the cognitive and reader's response stylistic. So the next is literary and critical stylistic. So this approach also looks at the literary techniques under effects for on Wordsworth use simile as a cloud and personification a cloud feeling lonely, so to reveal his emotion. So it reflects a romanticism or tendency to give human qualities to nature. So for example of that is the word lonely. So unites that the cloud turning into a reflection of the poet emotional state, showing how nature is used to express a human feelings. So that is the literary and critical stylistic. So that's all my part. I hope you learned something, and thank you.
So, Bong, or good day everyone. I am Louie Suleglang and I am the next reporter. So now let's proceed to the levels of stylistic. So in our first slides, we have first, the graphological analysis. So graphological analysis, no, in the context of writing and communication, it is the study of how the visual aspect of text influence a reader's perception and understanding. So it's not about handwriting analysis used to determine personality traits, but rather about the deliberate choices a writers make regarding the form, layout, and style of their text to convey meaning, emotions, and emphasis. So it includes the punctuation, capitalization, italics and bolding, and layout spacing. So we have also the phonological levels. So phonological levels of analysis, it focuses on the sounds of a text to understand its effect. So it's about how authors use sound patterns to create rhythm, mode, or emphasis, especially in poetry. So this level include the rhyme and rhythm, alliteration, assonance, and onomatopoeia. So these sounds element give a text, particularly poetry, in its unique feeling and can make it more memorable. And the third one is the lexicological level of analysis. So the lexicological level of analysis, it focuses on a writer's word choices and their effects. So it's how an author-specific vocabulary or diction shapes the meaning and style of a text. So this level examines more than just what a word means, and it also looks at its deeper implication and relationship with the words. So the key elements here include figurative language, connotation, and allusions. So by studying these elements, you can understand how a writer's unique vocabulary creates text, tone, and deeper themes. So in our next slides, we have the syntactic level of analysis. So the syntactic level of analysis looks at how sentences are structured to create a specific effect. So it's about how a writer arrange words, phrases, and clauses to control rhythm, emphasis, and meaning. So this includes sentence length, subject, verb, word order rather, and repetition. So in short, it is about the grammar and the flow of a text, showing how the writers put sentences together to tell a story or make a point. And the last one is the semantic level of analysis. So the semantic level of analysis, it is the highest level of stylistic analysis because it focuses on the meaning of the text as a whole. So it goes beyond the words and sentences themselves to understand what an author is trying to say. So these levels include the sentence meaning and utterance meaning. So essentially, while other levels of analysis focuses on how a text is written, the semantic level looks at the ultimate message and purpose behind those writing choices. So it helps us to understand the true meaning and impact of a text. So that's all for my part. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll be pass the virtual for to the next reporter.
So good day everyone, good day sir. So I am EVANELYN and we're going to continue the discussion, and I'm assigned to discuss the elements of literary stylistics. So when I say literary stylistics, it is the study of the language and style used in literary text. So it involves analyzing the various elements that contribute to the overall style and meaning of the text. So as you can see sa PowerPoint, there are some key elements of the literary stylistics. So we have 5. The first one is individuality, second, words or language choice, then third, the division, fourth, the context, and the fifth is beauty. So, individuality. Individuality in literary stylistics refers to the unique characteristics, traits, and features that distinguish one author's writing style from another. So, it's the distinct fingerprint of the author's work, shaped by their experiences, perspectives, and writing habits. So by analyzing individuality in literary stylistics, readers can gain a deeper appreciation for the author's unique voice and style. So the next one is language choice. Authors make deliberate decisions at every level, such as words, phrases, sentence structure, to shape tone, effect, and the voice. And generally speaking, linguistic choice can be divided into vertical axis called paradigmatic and the horizontal axis called syntagmatic. In linguistics, paradigmatic and syntagmatic relationship are two fundamental concepts that help analyze language structure and meaning. So when we say paradigmatic, it refers to the relationships between words or elements that can occupy the same position in a sentence or phrases. Example, in the sentence, the dog runs, the word dog can be replaced with other noun like cat, horse, or cow. So these words are paradigmatically related because they can occupy the same position in the sentence. So on the other hand naman, syntagmatic relationship refers to the relationship between words or elements that occur in the same sentence or phrases. Example, in the sentence earlier, like what I said, the dog runs quickly. So the word dog, runs, and quickly are syntagmatically related because they co-occur in the same sentence and form a meaningful unit. So the third one is division. Division shapes when writers intentionally break language norms to stand out and create an effect. So according to Geoffrey Leach 2008, he highlighted 3 levels of division in language, particularly in literary text. So according to him, we have 3 levels of division. The first one is primary division, secondary division, and tertiary division. So on the primary division, this refers to division against the background of general linguistic norms. So it's when language use deviates from standard linguistic expectation, creating a noticeable effect. So for example, using a word in an unconventional way or creating new words can be considered primary division. So secondary division, These types of deviation occurs against the norms of conventional poetic regularity. It's when a poet deviates from traditional poetic structures such as meter or rhythms to create a specific effect. So secondary deviation can add complexity and interest to the poem. So tertiary deviation naman, on the other hand, this deviation occurs against norm established within a literary text itself. So it's when a writer deviates from the norms they establish within their own work, creating a sense of surprise or tension. Tertiary deviation can be used to highlight certain themes or ideas within the text. So the fourth is context. So context, from the word itself, it refers to the situation, purpose, audience, genre, culture norms, and shape meaning. So writers tailor their style and based on their context. So what register is appropriate to use, like sa formal ba siya, poetic, legal, and conversational. So what tone also need to use, even what vocabulary. So the last one is beauty. So beauty refers to aesthetic quality of a text. So it called literariness of the text. So in stylistics, beauty often comes from devices like for groundings and deviation, which make language memorable, emotionally engaging, and thought-provoking. So these aesthetic experiences highlight when ordinary language is reshaped to draw attention and invite deeper interpretation. I think this concludes my part. So thank you for listening, everyone. And now I'm passing the virtual floor to the next reporter. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am Margielle ESPIGOL. My apologies for any possible background noise that you may hear. So let's proceed.
Good day, everyone. I am Jheana Mitch ESCUADRO together with Miss Margielle ESPIGOL, and we will be presenting to you an example of a literary piece. This is the Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's least hath all too short a day.
Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion deemed, and ever fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course and trim. Next slide, please.
Shakespeare's Sonnet 18 is one of the most famous love poems in English literature. At first, it looks like he is just praising someone's beauty, but when we use literary stylistics, we see how Shakespeare uses language, his choice of words, sounds, and rhythm to turn a simple compliment into art. Let's break it down.
So here's the stylistic analysis of Shakespeare's Sonnet 18 from his first two stanzas. Next slide, please. So the first level of literary stylistics is graphology. It is the visual form of language and handwriting. Can you please go back to the poem? Thank you. So this poem follows the sonnet structure. A sonnet always has 14 lines. As you can see, it is written in quatrains, 4 lines each stanza. 4 lines for the first stanza and 4 lines for the second stanza. In this case, we only use the first 2 stanzas of the poem, which forms an octave or 8 lines. But originally, this literary piece has 3 quatrains, equivalent to 12 lines, plus 1 couplet, equivalent to 2 lines, making a total of 14 lines, which makes it a sonnet. Graphology also deals with punctuation. In this literary piece, as you can see, there are regular use of colons, commas, and semicolons. These punctuations helps control the rhythm and gives the poem a conversational and reflective tone.
Another one is phonology, which deals with sound and rhythm. Now, let's try to listen to the sound of the poem. The poem is written in iambic pentameter, which means each line has 10 syllables. So for example, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So, it has like a bit of a heartbeat. Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. This rhythm makes the poem feel natural and steady, just like love itself. Shakespeare also uses alliteration like summers, sometime, and complexion, course, which makes the lines more musical. Notice too the contrast. Soft sounds in words like lovely and temperate give a gentle tone, but harsher sounds in rough winds bring the violence of nature. This contrast highlights the beloved's calmness compared to summer's chaos.
The third level of literary stylistics is lexicology, the word choice or the study of words. Shakespeare uses elevated or sophisticated words like temperate and lease instead of simple ones to make the poem sound refined. His imagery gives deeper meaning. Rough winds show destruction, darling buds of May show fragile beauty, and eye of heaven is a metaphor for the sun. In his line, and summer's lease hath all too short a date, the vocabulary here blends nature and law. The word lease suggests temporary ownership, showing that summer is a borrowed time. To sum it up, his word choice makes the poem elegant and full of vivid images.
The fourth one is syntax, which deals with sentence structure. Let us look how the sentences are built. The poem begins with a rhetorical question. Thee shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So we can clearly see the question mark there. This immediately can pull the reader into the conversation. Also, Shakespeare uses enjambment, which means that the sentence flows across lines without stopping. This gives the poem a sense of movement, just like time passing. The example of this in the poem is the summer's had all too short a date. So we can hear it like it flows across lines without stopping. We can also notice the balanced contrast, lovely versus rough winds and hot versus dim. These pairings show how unstable and changing life can be, or summer can be, unlike the beloved's beauty. Now, let's delve on the summary of analysis. In summary, Shakespeare's style is what makes the sonnet timeless. The rhythm makes it musical. The imagery paints vivid pictures. The contrast between summer and the beloved makes the complement powerful. And the metaphors reminds us that while nature fades, poetry can give beauty, immortality. So, what looks like a simple love poem is actually a carefully crafted work of art. And that's what literary stylistics helps us to see.